In this video, we're going to show how to build that interface from before completely from scratch. So this includes launching CPhrase from AWS, then accessing it via a browser, defining the database, adding lexical information, populating the database, and then finally showing some search via English. All right, so here what we have is we have the marketplace, and you just do a search for CPhrase here, and there you can see there's a free trial. You can launch that. It then will give us the pricing information. Now, note here, we can offer, for academic use and for other non-commercial use, we can offer drastic discounts or even free. So just take a private, we can do a private offer. So in this case, right now we're going to launch a micro. And this is an important part here. You have to paste this in to that into the field here so that it runs CPhrase when the EC2 instance comes up. Okay, we're going to skip adding any kind of storage. But if you want to, you can specify it there. Right. Then the recommended security groups come up here. So it's just SSH if you need to get in there, and then some open ports there for the browser. You'll need to have a key here, a key pair. Just that one. And then finally, we launch CPhrase. So it'll take about 5 minutes or so for it to come up and be accessible. So we'll wait here, and then we will. Okay, so now it's come up. So there was a delay there of 5 minutes. So what we do here now is we see here the actual IP that it's running on. And we're going to paste that into our browser. And we're going to then also specify that it's going to be port 9999. That's where CPhrase is running by default. That's where the administration interface. And so here, we can log in now with the username admin. And then the password is always the ID that was generated for the EC2. So it's always going to be the EC2 ID in the beginning. You can change that later. Then we'll log in. I'll just save this for. All right. So now what we see here is we see that this is the CPhrase, and it comes with several example interfaces. And one was the actual example that we developed before. So we're actually just going to remove that because we want to actually rebuild that completely from scratch. So by doing that, what we do is we create a new configuration called transaction, and then here we are. And when we go in here, we see that it is completely empty. All right, so you can see this. We're going to add some tables. We'll add the table. First of all, we'll add the table of the customer. And that has a type of ID. I'm sorry, the attribute is ID, and the type is integer. So this is just going to be our primary key for that. And we have to specify that, so we're going to add that in as the primary key. So these are just kind of normal database concepts, relational database concepts that are implemented here. The key thing is that it's all self-contained. So we're doing all this kind of self-contained operations through the interface. So there's no, so it's very easy and direct just to build up a database this way. So we're going to then add in an attribute for the country. And for the customer. And okay, so that defined our full customer table. Now, what we can do here is we can actually see this as just XML, and I'll just copy this over into into the table for the item. So we can either use that tree editor, or we can just edit the flat file. So this CPhrase, this is fully documented. The CPhrase format on the documentation site. So that's it's important ultimately to understand that if you want to build CPhrase interfaces. So now we're going to add in the table that joins these two together, and that is it's called purchase. So a customer purchases an item. An item is purchased by a customer, and this is going to include foreign keys. So we're going to have the customer as the foreign key. It's going to be, of course, of type integer because that's the primary key. type for customer, and then we're going to do a similar thing for the item. So yeah, so this is, again, this is all kind of standard kind of data modeling type stuff. Now what we want to do here is we want to, well, we have to have these, we want to have these other additional attributes on a transaction, like the date in which that transaction was. So here date is the type that we specify, and then we also have the amount. So this is the amount of money that is going to be the transaction represents, and that's a real value. Okay, so we're almost done, but what we need to do is we need to finally just specify these foreign keys. So we have the foreign key from customer to customer, and we have likewise the foreign key from item to item. And those just finally get specified. Set that. All right, so there it is. And then if we look at the flat file, this is the full XML specification for this database. But note, this database has not been built yet. There is no database yet. We've just defined the definition of the database. So what we want to do here then is we want to go and we want to, well, let's see here, we want to, you'll see that we're going to actually build a database. This is an SQLite database. So we're building the SQLite database associated with that transaction.c phrase file. Okay, as the first part of specifying lexical information, we're going to specify what are called primary values. So a primary value is, it's the name that C-phrase uses to refer to something. So in this case, the name of the customer is simply the name in the database, and with item, likewise, it's just the name of the item. So this is the first thing we do. Okay, so now that we've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to move over into the issue of specifying just a little bit of lexical information. So this is where the language comes in. So a purchase is also, a synonym for that is a transaction. And the convention in C phrase is that the first is a singular, the second is a plural, the third is going in the direction of the foreign keys. So like customers bought item, or item bought by customer. So this gives us a little bit of lexical attachment, and then we have, so there it is right there. Those are those phrases now are associated with the table purchase, and that of course makes it so that we can ask natural language that involves those. We're also going to add this to kind of make it easier for data entry. We're going to add in some kind of values, default, like these are values that we'll ultimately see that these are going to be determined by menu. So we have the type vegetable, and we have the type fruit, and so we see that, and this will become clear in a second what this does. Now there is one extra quirk that is going to come up here, and it has to do with this amount in the purchase. So if you remember from the earlier video, we were doing stuff where we were actually saying what is the total. We were doing totaling over that amount. So we actually have to go in here, and we're going to specify a property here. And this, of course, is fully documented, but the feature we're putting in here is totaling. So that's just something that we do to support that query where we're doing a total amount of the transactions for a given customer. Okay, so now that we've done that, we've added all the lexical information we need. Now we're going to launch the interface. So we've launched it. Since we have the database, we have this lexical information. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go in and we're going to populate the database with the actual, with some data, some information. Now, of course, in real use, we would have a CSV, or we would connect to a remote database, but that we'll have future videos that covers that. So what just happened there is we just added Alice in the country of USA, and then we can also put in Bob from Canada, and we'll put in some more here. We'll put in Charlie from the USA, and then, so as you notice here at the bottom there, you see as we do the inserts, you see the table building up there. That is because we had a query, the first query we asked was customers, and then we add the inserts. That's a very common use. So here we do it with items. There are no items, of course. But what's nice now is then when we add items in, they'll be it'll display them at the bottom there. Okay. So this right here, the idea there of fruit, we can put the fruit in. We selected fruit from the pull down, and that's because we defined the value fruit and vegetables. So we're just gonna add in there the apples. So now notice what we've done here is we've actually changed the insert query, so it is for all just fruits. So we can do very rapid data entry based on that. So we can just kind of very flexibly specify that we're looking for fruits. Now we'll look for vegetables, and we now can put in carrots here. All right. So now, so we have the items and we have the customers. And now what we want to do is we want to put in the transactions. Of course, there are no transactions yet, but we're going to show how we're going to do some rapid data entry here for adding transactions. So here we have a pull down for Alice, and we have a pull down here for apples. And then we have a date, and then we'll put in an amount. And so there's the date there. The amount is 3. Okay, so we'll just do this one here. There was a little bit of spurious ambiguity there. So what we can do now is we've specified it's for a particular date, and we're now just putting in. We're just going to be able to put in a lot of different people buying different products on that date for that amount. All right, so this is just kind of quickly showing how we can kind of build up the database very quickly. All right, and then we'll put in here. We'll put in dates, I think, because we want to make sure that Alice has everything, because we want to do that every query later. So there, just note there that Alice has bought all the items. Now we'll just do Bob, and we'll just kind of add some other ones in here. Yeah, so it's kind of like a lot of point and click. So it's natural language, but it's point and click based. So we'll just go up here now and edit that, and we'll change it to a week later, and we'll change the amount to 8, and then we'll put the amount at, let's say 4 or something. Okay, and then likewise we'll go through here, and we'll just kind of fill up just to get a little more in there into the database. So yeah, Bob, and then bananas. All right, and then carrots. Okay, we're just kind of going to add in a whole bunch more. Okay, very good. All right, so we got 11. We have 11 records in there. We've had 11 transactions. Okay, so that's good enough for us just to kind of verify or to show that we've done that we've populated the database, so we can actually do some. We can verify. We ask the questions that they're coming back correctly. Okay, so here's I just want to show a little bit of a trick here, or trick. I'm going to show a little bit of a property that's nice here. So first of all those edits we've made have been logged. So every time you do an edit, you get the SQL log, and you might want to, that could be incorporated somewhere else, like a data construction pipeline. We also show there this idea here that what we can do is actually these .c phrase files can be completely encapsulated databases as well. So if you look here, we also have the database state in the actual XML format. So there it is right there. There's the database state that also got brought in as XML. So that might be kind of a nice property to have, to basically have everything encapsulated. All right, so now we're just going to show that these that we can support the kind of questions that we had in the demo video from before. We have like the items, we have the names of the items, of course. This is we have the names of the customers, and there we are. And this is kind of a nice property. What you can do is you can then, when you have like constants like that, you can put them over there to that sidebar, and then you can use them to point and click. So like the names of items bought by, and then I click on something there, and then it copies it in. So it's kind of it makes it very easy just to kind of build up queries without having to type so much on the keyboard. So that's kind of the reason for that. But they're still natural language questions. So here now we've had the names of the customers there as well. They're still natural language questions, but they're just kind of point and click constructed rather than typed out. But you can still type, as you see right there. So we have the people who bought carrots, Alice and Bob, and we have the people who bought carrots and also bought dates. And that would be Alice and Bob both did. Okay, so they both bought that. Then we might have something like, well, every item in Alice should be in there, and she is. And then let's see if we can get another one in here just to kind of complete the whole. All right, items type vegetables. Okay, and then Bob and Alice both bought carrots basically because there's only one item of type vegetable. And then just to kind of show that so we have like the customers that have at least, so we're going to make it 3 transactions, and that should be definitely Alice, and actually Alice, Bob, and Charlie, so they all have at least 3. So all those questions from the earlier demo now are supported. You can ask all those questions. So this video showed that it's very easy to build up a full solution quickly. And of course, this can work with CSVs and remote databases. And finally, there's a lot more features of CPhrase. They're documented, but we're going to have future videos where we're going to show more of them. So thank you very much for your attention. Bye.